Yes, I actually thought of something else to talk about today. Because there was, I'll put you slightly more further away, slightly, so it looks sort of normal. Um, the completion process, it means like going into the emotions that hurt and staying with them for as long as is necessary, okay? And it doesn't matter whether it's about old things or recent things that bother you. It just turns out that it's a really fine way to work with your own emotions. You don't really need anything else except in order to give yourself more time or to give yourself a bit of a different type of energy for a short while, okay? Which is why I use these, for example, stones and bits and pieces. Something that struck me suddenly, because I have a new phone, I also have a new keyboard set up under right there, you know, where your face is normally. And the keyboard has actual settings where you can use a photograph, a picture, as a sort of a on the surface of the keys. So I use a dark greyish type of picture of sand and sea, a picture that I took at a place where I was on holiday, and it's this place. It says here in French, Pointe du Raz, and I hope that ain't back to front. We'll see when it gets there. It's the uttermost west of Brittany, and there's like a couple of large rocks sticking out into the ocean, and in between the set of two rocks there's a beautiful beach, and we were there a couple of times. And the first time we went there was like in the first week of August or so this year, and I just sat there in the sand and I had a bit of an emotional moment again because of all the things that were coming to me. I wasn't even on YouTube then. I was just, you know, doing everything privately still, which is a big difference. And it just felt also like a very welcoming place for me to, you know, have a bit of a, you know, in a moment where I could let go of some things. And the photograph that I took afterwards of the sand and a tide pool where you could see the little lines of the little tiny rivulets where the water had sort of seeped down into the tide pool through the sand. So there's a little pattern there. I use that underneath my keyboard. So it reminds me every time of the moment that I sat there and cried and felt pretty, you know, pretty awful. And that's totally fine. My husband has a photograph of his little vanished twin shrine, his twin brother shrine with two babies and all that. And his boss had seen the photograph on his phone and he went, "Do you want to look at that all the time, every day? And how do you, you know, doesn't it make you miserable? It will just make you miserable again and again." And that is the thing that links to the other thing where I say, if you're far along enough into the completion process, in your own process of reuniting and reintegrating with all those parts of yourself that have been abandoned by the roadside, in whichever way you want to look at it, if you're far enough along, then it's okay that it hurts a bit. And you just make do. You don't make do, you embrace it. And it turns out you can live with all that stuff and with all the baggage and all the charge of things and the electricity and the heaviness and whatever there is, you just become so much stronger and you become a different type of human being. That's what I think, that you're not afraid. I am to my And nobody's more surprised than I am, okay? I am not afraid any longer. I am not afraid that things will get so dramatic inside of me that I can't cope. And that is all thanks to the work that I've put into this. So it's possible. It's possible to go through the pain, and that's what everybody's saying, really, in all sorts of therapeutic types of context and psycho and analysis and psychotherapy and all that. Are they trying to make you cope? Are they trying to keep you sort of, on your legs, on your feet, and moving, doing the moves so that your life looks like it's, and what you're supposed to be doing? If you have a job, that the work comes out of your hands, right? A lot of that is coping. And when is it possible for us to do our jobs, to be engaged, to be involved, to be connected, and still do the therapeutic work ourselves and get closer to our personal problems and our, bottlenecks and conflicts and stuff, and still progress forward through all that and through the things that have been hurting us, basically. It's those things together. And I say to that, I could never have done this alone. My husband has been there for me. I have been there for him. So it works both ways, and it's very rare that you're both in a state of crisis at the same time. It happens. It does happen occasionally, and then you have to work through that again. And you have to, of course, consider that my husband and I complement each other very well. I am very verbal, very vocal, and very easy with words. He is a lot less so, but he can listen very well, and he kind of knows where the truth is. So if I go over the top with all sorts of extra information and stuff, he'll just stop responding to me, and he'll just fall asleep most of the time. But he's been there for me whenever I really needed somebody to be with me. And the same for me to him. You sort of grow in this process, and if you give it time is always the secret ingredient, right? If you give it time and you see progress being made by both of you, then I think that with two people, you can do this. If you're really by yourself, you have to make your own money, then it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. But I suppose you wouldn't be in that position if you were completely, at the end of your tether, because then you can't. Well, many people work in the workplace and they're out at the end of their tether, obviously. But I think right now, I would say most of the time that's because the work is demanding too much from them, and there's a different issue there where it's not that they hate the job or that they hate if you hate the job, obviously it's not the place where you should be, right? So all this is really, sort of spreading out from a central point here for me that I thought was important to make. Once you're into the process, and it takes a year, I think you can safely say it takes a year for the completion process to take hold inside of us. For me, it may have been slightly less than that, because I was super motivated to get through the resistance, but I still have to work at it sometimes, and I still have to just sit there and let it hurt, and let the hurt come out, and let it just do its thing, and try to just listen to it. And it turns out that you get a very special, what I find extraordinary is that I get a new type of, it isn't really new, it's a child consciousness that wakes up inside of me, and it allows me to you know, work on little fiddly things like this. This is a bit of lace that I'm sewing onto a bit of ribbon, and they'll both go in. It doesn't really matter. It's, you know, oh, there's a great butterfly outside. I wish I could show it to you guys. That's a pretty one. It's black with orange and white bands. They're fairly rare. You don't get to. It's good to catch it on the inside. It wants to come into the house now. There must be a reason for the butterfly. Okay, it's gone. It's found the grapes. It's sitting on the grapes now. Maybe it can have some grape juice. Butterfly transformation. The transformation of the completion of cocooning into your own problem, into your pain, assimilating what is there, and then you become a different type of person. You're not afraid anymore. So on that note, I think I'll close up shop for today. But I thought I still think this is pretty fabulous to think about. So good luck to everybody who sees this whenever, even if it's in 20 years time. So you rock. Okay, bye for now.